All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another one of my interviews. Today, I have a very special guest with me. She is a former pro wrestler and cheerleader and dancer. She is original member of the WCW NITRO Girls. She's a former Atlanta Falcons cheerleader. She is a current entrepreneur in her own business that she was on Shark Tank, and she is also a former musician with the Nitro Girls. She is no other than Cheyenne. We'll get her on in here, and then we will start on with the interview. Hello.
Hi, how are you? I thought my AirPods were connected, but it's not. And I'm trying to figure it out without
Oh,
if this works, I can just take them off.
okay.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's awesome. Thank you for taking your time out to do this. It's a pleasure to have you on here.
Yes.
All right.
You are so
So,
cute.
thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Oh,
Yeah,
this
I've
is
been doing
great. You
these.
started
I,
early.
yes, I've been doing these since way before COVID. So I was like really young doing these interviews. And I just got into it because COVID was just really shut down, and something to do. I wanted to start doing interviews, and I got it from Chris Van Vliet. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but yeah.
I'm not sure. But you're my daughter's age.
Oh, really?
You're so cute. I can say
Thank
that
you.
because you're my daughter's age. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I
appreciate it.
mean, you weren't even born when Nitro went off the air.
No, I was like, you would be surprised with what guests I've had on. A lot of people are, because I've had on like the wrestlers from way back then. I'm just into like getting to talk and get to know more of like about these wrestlers, and just like the wrestling personalities, that what they did back then and stuff like that. So as a big wrestling fanatic myself, so
I mean, I think to be a good interviewer, you have to be good at speaking, right? But
yeah.
it's a skill that I think the more you do it, the better you're gonna get. And I mean, by the time give it a few more years, you're gonna be like an interviewer extraordinaire.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about maybe even going into college to become like into the podcasting,
Of
uh
course.
like anything of that sort, like like commentating or anything like that. I do want to become a pro wrestler, but then a lot of people say I'm good at doing this. So, this is possibly something that I would like doing, and graphic designing, because I make like posters for things, and I'm interested in doing that maybe in college too. So,
Yeah. So wait, so you did think about maybe trying out for going for wrestling?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you wrestle at school?
No, I tried it in fifth grade. Now I'm
Yeah.
in 11th grade, and um, it wasn't just really my cup of tea, and I never really won any of my matches, unless it was like forfeit or anything like that.
Well,
Um,
no, I wouldn't have
yeah,
discounted it that quick.
yeah. I mean, I was pretty young at that time, so I kind of regret not doing it. And now thinking about it, I kind of wanted to go back into it, but they don't do much of the training now in high school than they did in middle school. So it was like,
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
you get in there,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So is there
So,
anything else that you want to say about yourself? How have you been up to since like Halloween? How was your Halloween?
oh, the Halloween was great. Typically, it's just obviously making sure the kids are dressed and making sure we take them throughout the neighborhood and they're safe and you walk. But now that they're older, they can kind of go off on their own. And friend of ours threw a very very fun party. It's actually our son's parents that hosted a
Okay.
party. So our son was there with all his friends, and the parents were there. So we actually got to have fun on Halloween, like the good old days.
Nice. Yeah. Just getting to relive the moments from the time as younger. So that's awesome. I seen some of the photos. You were in like the skull
Yeah, yeah,
face
yeah, yeah.
paint.
It's the Day of the Dead.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So this party, they have yearly Halloween party, and they always have a very good face painter. So I counted on that, and I chose my costume. What about
Nice.
you?
Yeah.
Do you go trick or treating?
Yeah. I go trick or treating down here in Wisconsin. So there's not much places now. Getting older, it's kind of different now because being younger trick or treating, it's just it feels more
Yeah,
fun.
it is.
Sorry, like you know.
Yes.
And now that I'm older, but it's still fun. Like you get candy and everything. You get to walk around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you have any
Um,
siblings?
I have one sibling at my mom's.
Okay, okay.
He is 6 years old, but I have like
Okay,
four
okay.
older
That's a big
siblings.
gap.
So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So you should be trick or treating and giving the candy to your brother.
right.
Yeah.
I went as like my wrestling persona that I have that I like because I wrestle in like my trampoline that I've been doing for many years now, and I go as Shredder Von Dyke. That's what character I do.
Oh, that's so fun. So you have other friends who are into wrestling as well?
I have my autistic friend at my school. He has autism, and he's like a big wrestling fan. We're also monster truck fans, and just have like our own figure wrestling company that we do, and it's just really fun getting to do that with him. I get to go over to his house, but then I also have another wrestling friend, but he's closer to Minnesota, so he's far away.
Okay.
I just hung out with him the other week, but it's hard to see him. But yeah, I have like one wrestling friend, but there's not many wrestling fans in my school that I hang out with. So
Okay, okay. All right.
yeah.
So I
All
have
right.
to tell you, so last night I was home alone, which doesn't happen very often. I can't really tell you when I was ever home alone. Well, we had our dog, but
Yeah.
because between three kids and my husband, like I'm never alone. And this weekend, my husband took well, it's like a son and dad weekend, football weekend.
Okay.
So a bunch of dads and took their sons down to Waco because Baylor is playing TCU. My husband went to Baylor, and a couple of the other dads went to Baylor. So my husband left yesterday after school with the boys, and our daughter had a sleepover. So last night was the only night that I was alone, and I took full advantage of having the whole place to myself, and I actually slept in. So yeah, so that was so because I had a lot of free time for once. I decided to binge watch Who Killed WCW, which was really interesting.
Oh wow.
Yeah, have you seen it?
Who chose WCW?
Who killed WCW?
Oh, no, I didn't get the chance to watch it. I don't really watch many of like the biography stuff
Yeah,
much because I'm quite busy with school and
yeah, yeah,
my interviews. But I would like to get to watch some of that stuff.
yeah.
How was it?
It's very very interesting. It really made me. I went away thinking I went away very humble because when we were there as Nitro Girls, it was just really all fun, and we didn't go into wrestling for the wrestling. When I got hired, after my audition by Kimberly to be one of the Nitro Girls, I didn't even know what Nitro was. It wasn't until I talked to a friend of mine, because we were because we were talking, and I told my husband, I told my friend that I got a new job, that audition for, and it's with Monday Night Nitro. And I remember, like, it was actually my friend and her boyfriend, and they actually worked and managed a sports bar. And their eyes got huge. They said, "Oh my gosh, you know what Monday Night Nitro is?" And I said, "I have no idea what that is." And they're like, "It's only the most popular and the biggest, show on cable TV, and it's actually the biggest night at our sports bar, because where everybody come, they have a huge nitro party every Monday night."
Right.
So um so again, and that's the case for all the other girls. We didn't know, we all had other jobs. Like, I was stuck as cheerleader, and other girls had, corporate jobs, but their passion was to perform and dance, so they took this opportunity. But we just really, we had so much fun. But if you watch, that documentary, there's so much that happens behind the scene. And all I have to say is, I just give all those guys from production to all the talent, and even Eric Bischoff, so much credit for um, for making the show what it was. There's a lot of
Right.
work that went into it that I didn't even imagine, that I didn't even know, would be involved. It's almost like, you know, the girls and I were on a cruise ship, and they were on a battleship, fighting every day. But we, we're just having fun with our little cocktail in the lounge chair, enjoying the.
Right.
But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So were the WCW Nitro girls ever mentioned on that show?
No, no, not at all. Just a little clips in the background, but not at all. Charmel, Queen
Oh
Charmel,
yeah.
she was interviewed very, throughout the show along with Booker, and the only mention of really Nitro Girls was that's how she started off as a Nitro
Yeah.
Girl. But yeah, we didn't get any really mention, which is fine. Again, like I said, if you watch the
Right.
show, we were just, I see it as a, when you go to like a restaurant, there's like meat, potato, and some vegetables, and there's a little garnish, right? So that's what we
Yes.
were.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so it's, I'm not offended by that whatsoever, because that's exactly what we were. Yeah.
Right. And talking about Charmel, what is it like getting to see what she's doing now? She's in the Hall of Fame and just uprising her career after the WCW Nitro Girls, going into being the Queen Charmel. What is it like
Mhm.
getting to see what she evolved into after being part of the WCW Nitro Girls?
I know Charmel, one thing about Charmel, she is very, very, very smart. Her IQ is probably, probably one of the highest. And so but at the same time, again, her passion was to perform and dance. So I always
Yeah.
knew she could do anything that she wanted to do. And she was very driven and motivated. So I knew that wherever that she, because when, she was with Booker, and when Booker went to WWE, and whether she joined Booker, and stayed in the wrestling industry, or whether she would have gone off and done other things, I know she would have been successful. It was really fun weekend, when, the WrestleMania was here, the one that she got inducted, and
Yeah.
Melissa Spice, she flew in, and I'm in Dallas, so we helped her look for a dress. We, went to dinner, and we took her to get her, we helped her get ready. We took her to get ready, and we were in their suite the night of, and, you know, and Melissa and I were actually also at the show and watching
Oh,
her.
really?
Yeah, yeah. And
That's
she's
cool.
in Houston, and she was in town a couple months ago, and she brought her twins. Kendrick and
Okay.
Kennedy, and they're like my second, my first. We have a boy. Well, we have two. Well, Ava's 16, and we have a eighth grader. His name is Brock, and fifth grader. His name is Garrett. And so I took Brock over to meet Kendrick and Kennedy, and they got along great. So it's really nice. It's really nice when you're friends and you've been a lifelong friend, and then you actually see your kids become, get connected and be good friends too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then also there's Stacy Keebler,
Yep.
who uprise in her career.
Yep.
Um, was there any reasoning behind why you didn't after like the Nitro Girls then broke up in like 2000 to 2001? What was there any reasoning behind you didn't uplift your career in WCW more?
Um, I have to say, you know, at the time when the girls started to get plugged out of WCW and get written into the storylines, and even though they were adding girls as they were taking them away, like new Nitro girls, I really wasn't sure what the future of the Nitro girls would be. So I think, and I think I would be speaking for other girls as well, that they were getting a little nervous for their job security, So um, they felt like if they were in storylines, that their job security would be a lot better than if they were just, dancing. So I felt that too. And in a way, I wanted to be in the storyline, but I also knew the girls that did get into storylines, like Tigress, and Spice and other girls, they had also had to go to the power plant, which is a wrestling school. And they had
Yeah.
to really learn how to wrestle and take bumps. And I just didn't know if that's something that I wanted to do because, again, how I got the job was strictly, I was cheering with the Falcons and I got the opportunity to audition. And I just didn't, the wrestling just was never in my thought at all. So
Right.
I didn't know what to do. Do I want to be in a storyline? Do I not? Not that it was my choice, but come to find out that one of the wrestlers advocated for me, and he felt that wrestling wasn't something that I should be doing. So he actually told the writers that I think his exact words were, Chae's back would never hit the mat, which means, just keep her where she is. Um, in hindsight, but I didn't find out about this until later after. And in hindsight, I'm glad that was the case because actually I'm the only girl that started. It was the original Nitro girl that finished
Hmm.
as Nitro girl. So I'm glad, that happened.
Right. I think just getting just to say that is awesome. Like you started and then ended the Nitro Girls. That's pretty
Right.
cool. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and just taking the bumps. I took a couple bumps in the ring. They hurt. So,
Yeah.
you would have like the toll on your body now probably,
I mean,
so
so many
those
of those,
get better.
yeah, so many of the boys, they were, because I mean, what people see are Mondays and Thursdays, right? In
Hmm.
initially there was no Thunder on Thursdays, just Nitro on Mondays. That's what people see, but what they don't see in between is these boys are on the road doing house shows in little small towns in like little tiny civic center, and they're on the sometimes like after they leave Nitro, they do house shows, 2, 3, 4 house shows in between until the next Nitro where they don't even go home. So they schedule these towns where, as they're going to the next house shows after another, it's actually on the way to the next Nitro, right? So,
Yeah.
so they're constantly working, and there's so many guys that were always in pain, a lot of surgeries. So there's a it's a lot of toll on the body, and not just on the body, but just for your mind too, to be on the road like that so much. So it's a really, really tough business.
Yeah, and then you also had to be on the road. And what was for the time as the WCW Nitro Girls? What was it like having to be on the road from your experience?
For us, again, it was like road trip with your best friends. You know, it's
Yeah,
so we travel by, in a group, and there were like 4 or 5 of us in a car, and it was just, for us it was fun. It was fun, and we were taken care of. Our hotels were paid for, our cars were paid for, and I know a lot of these other boys, that the way that the contract was written, they don't get cars and they don't get hotel rooms. So these
yeah,
boys are sharing one, 4 or 5 guys are sharing one room to just save money. So, for them, it's this different experience than it was for us. For us, I mean, again, I've compared our experience to the boys' experience as we were on a cruise ship and they were on a battleship, you know. So for
yeah,
us, we were just on a fun road trip across the country, and if
right,
you think about it, we only had to work, we only had to show up at the building maybe if the show was at 7, maybe 5, 6 o'clock. And if you literally um, added up the minutes that we worked, as far as like running out and dancing, it would be like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes in one
right.
day. And that was our work day. Whereas these guys, it's a heck of a lot more than that. And not to
Hmm.
mention, the toll on their bodies.
Yeah, because yeah, you guys just got to go out there and show the whole world your guys' dance moves and everything, while they had to go out there and put their bodies on the line.
Yes, yes.
And
They had to-
from what it sounds like, you guys got like the luxury treatment.
We did. Well, because you think
Yeah,
about it, they had to think about storylines. They had to think
right.
about, the whole, everything about the business is about getting over, right? And
Hmm.
you you're putting your future and your bread and butter, your livelihood on somebody else's, on the creatives, who they thought should get put over, who they thought should get the belt. And there's so much stress that went into that. And at the same time, you had to work with all the different dynamics of somebody that wants the title as bad as you do. So you don't know
Right.
who to trust. There's just so much going on, internal stuff. Whereas for us, we practice the routine. We just go, we get our cue, and we just do our little couple-minute routine, and we get off stage. And again, I mean, I've always known this, but I didn't know to what extent until I saw the documentary last night. There was just so much that went into it, stress and a lot of internal bickering and fighting and trying to figure out where you fit and how to navigate around all different personalities. And I mean, I have to say, I mean, I gotta hand it to those boys. I mean, they, you know, they need a lot of credit for
Yeah,
making WCW what it is, or at the time.
I totally agree. Right.
So, who is your favorite character in WWE? Or what do you watch? Everything? Do you watch all the different wrestling companies? I know there's,
Yeah, I do.
yeah. So
I
you watch
watch
obviously
WWE.
WWE. You watch TNA.
Actually, I don't really watch TNA because I don't have it like programmed into my TV. I don't get like the channel that they stream
Yeah, yeah,
onto.
yeah,
So,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but I follow them and I know everything about it. So TNA, I know everything about them. AEW, I watch, but them
Yeah.
three
I
are
mean, I would think
probably,
is AEW. Are they just probably the second biggest after WWE?
yeah, I would say, but then there's also like TNA. So I don't know if AEW and TNA would be like crossed over together as like
Right.
the second biggest together because AEW and TNA are sorry, my mistake. WWE and TNA are kind of partnering up at this time,
Oh, they
letting
are. Okay.
yeah, NXT is letting their wrestlers go over to TNA, and TNA is letting their wrestlers go over to NXT. So yeah,
It's almost like, monopolizing the whole industry. Which I mean, there's demand, obviously. Wrestling will always be around, and because what I gathered from watching the show last night, they what a lot of people are saying that they should have kept WCW and WWE separate, where they still are the rivals, even though it's under the same company. Because I guess
yeah,
the way they try to do it is have um, Shane McMahon be in charge of WCW. And then now he's in feud with the dad, all that kind of stuff. But they ended up bringing the WCW into WWF, which kind of killed the whole feud idea. And then they try to do it again by bringing Eric Bischoff in. Anyway, but yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot of drama.
crazy. Yeah, here, there, and everywhere with everything.
Yeah.
So, as the WCW Nitro Girls, you guys were probably a lot of like the fan favorites of the night. What are some crazy fan stories, if you don't mind sharing? Because I know there was probably some fans that loved the WCW Nitro Girls, and you know,
I have to tell you, there were so many wonderful fans, and there were maybe a few that, especially like I feel like you've probably had more diehard fans up north,
yeah,
Midwest and Northeast, like New York area. And doesn't matter what show we did, whether it's a house show or really small house show or a big Monday night event, um, there was always the handful that always showed up to the hotel. So for every show, the company they booked most of the hotel rooms like at one same hotel, and it was always the Marriott, and it was really a lot of fun. So people started showing up. So everybody kind of flies in on Sunday, or some people fly on Monday, but I think, always flew in on Sunday. And they're always the same group of fans always in the lobby at the hotel. Just, you know what I mean? Just waiting to
yeah,
see if they can get a glimpse or get a picture taken with some of their favorites. Um, so but they were always we didn't meet any that were disrespectful. Everybody was very respectful, very kind. So there were a handful that we created really good friendships with. I mean, nothing that's outside of wrestling. Not that we didn't do anything together. We didn't get together on our personal times, but we always
right,
look forward to, if we were going back to New York, we always look forward to seeing the same fans. But there were a few times that we would get letters. Um, so we would get fan letters sent to the headquarters, um,
okay, yeah,
and then obviously they wouldn't open it, so they would just give it to us. And some of them were kind of freaky. It's almost like a stalking kind of a thing. And
okay, yeah,
one letter I got, this guy was saying something about how he disapproves of some of the costumes, outfits we wear,
mm,
stuff like that. And what the protocol was, if we get a letter like that, we give it to the head of security, and the head of security kind of keeps track of the names and the content of the letter. And if it happens more than once, if I get another letter from the same person in the same kind of context of disapproval, or saying something strange, then they would actually, I think what they were supposed to do is just maybe investigate the person, but I don't think it ever got.
yeah,
But we would get. I mean, there are people out there, whether it's a joke, whether they were serious or not. They, yeah. But most 99% were amazing. They were great fans.
of course, yeah. That's great to hear. And I bet there's like a lot of fans who would love to see a reunion. Has there been any talks of, since the departure of the WCW Nitro Girls, have there been any talks of having a reunion ever with all of them?
You know, we get requests individually or as a group to do signings at certain autograph signings at certain wrestling shows. And because of our schedule, not all of us can go. And some girls,
Yeah.
they just kind of, they're very much into corporate. They have, you know, high executive positions in big corporations. So they just kind of don't want to. It's almost like they, it was good, and I got great friends, lifelong friends out of it, and great memories. But it's not something that I want to go back to. So there are a couple of those girls, and then and for us, it's always been especially me, kind of being at home raising kids. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
free trip, and free flights and hotel, whatever, just for me to hang out with some of my girls, for the weekend. Yeah, so we've done that, but nothing really as a group, or nothing that it would be so fun to do something like Where Are They Now, where we've always talked about, wouldn't it be so fun if, but I guess there would have to be a market for it. Who would want to watch it? Like, we've always said it would be fun if somebody came and said, hey, we want to get an Airbnb somewhere fun on the beach or something, and have like all the girls come and hang out and just do individual interviews and do group interviews and just do a little, I don't know, couple hour mini docu series, on us,
Yeah.
on what we're doing and talking about the fun we had and whatnot. Um, we've always, said that would be nice, but nothing's really come out of that, or any offers of that. But there has been a lot of shows or promoters that try to get all the girls at the same time, because if you go to these autograph signings, it's so sad, because since we're doing separate ones and you have our group photo, and there's always like, they're just trying to like collect one at a time, right? One
Oh,
autograph at
right. Yeah.
a time, have the whole photo autographed. So they show up, but so it would be nice to be able to, for us to be all there at once, so everybody can get, you know, one group photo with all of us signed. But it just, schedule wise, it just never really pans out.
Yeah. I mean, maybe one day that would be great. Like the show that you were talking about,
Hey,
that
one
would
day
be.
we're, you know what, but better be sooner than later, because we're all getting. I mean, it's been 23. I mean, I can't even imagine. It's been 23 years, which is crazy to say. But
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still astonished that there are people out there that still come to these wrestling shows, and that still wants to see us and get autographs and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So, was wrestling something that you were a fan of as a kid, and did you watch it as a kid? If so, who were some of your favorites growing up? If you were.
No, I only watched. I only knew Hulk Hogan because I think my
Okay. Yeah.
grandpa watched it, but it's not something that I kept up with. I mean, who doesn't know Hulk Hogan, right? Especially after the
Right.
Rocky movie. Um,
Yeah.
so that's the only name that I actually knew. Um,
Okay.
but it was really nice. It's I have so many great memories. One of them was, we did, it's called Road to Sturgis, where we had a Monday night live show on in Denver on Monday, and then the following Sunday the pay-per-view was going to be at Sturgis, for the bike rally. And because Eric's a huge Harley fan, and so is Hulk Hogan, and his wife even had a Harley. So we did a big road to Sturgis, where we all had our Harleys, and I had a Harley. For that, I learned how to
Oh,
ride a
cool.
Harley. And so a bunch of boys, like and Hogan and his wife and his two kids and Eric. We all rode our motorcycle cross country to Sturgis. But so yeah, it was really neat to know hear about Hulk Hogan and watch him a little bit, through my grandpa, and then it was just it's one of those like really surreal moment to be hanging out with, riding, side by side with Hulk Hogan and his wife, and play with his kids.
Right.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, who would have ever, as a kid, getting now
Hmm.
then to say, like, I get to hung out with Hulk Hogan, like that's
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I
I mean,
like I
like for
got
a
to
whole
meet him.
week. Yeah, for a whole week. So
Yeah.
we would go from Denver to the next city. We'd only ride a couple hundred miles a day, and then
Mm.
from there we go to the next city, and then we'd have a hotel set up for us. We all eat together, hang out, and then get up the next morning, get back on our bikes, and we just kind of inched our way up the map. Yeah.
Right. So you were in cheer as an Atlanta Falcons cheerleader when you got asked to do the WCW Nitro Girl thing. What
Hmm.
made you want to part ways with doing such a big thing as doing cheerleading, something that you loved, into wanting to do the wrestling side of things?
Um, it was. I tried to do both. Yeah, the cheer was so much fun, and the reason why I got the audition to try out for Nitro is because I was a cheerleader. Because AC
Hmm.
Jazz, one of the girls, she used to cheer for the Falcon, and she worked out at the same gym that Kimberly worked out at. The main event is the gym that Lex Luger and Sting used to own. So Kimberly knew that Amy, AC Jazz, used to cheer for the Falcons. So Amy didn't even have to try out. And that's where also Melissa Spice, she also worked out at main event. And she at the time was dancing for her college, her chiropractic college called Life College. So Kimberly knew both of them just from being at the gym. And she knew in it right away that okay, I want Amy and Melissa to be the Nitro girls. And from there, I think Melissa said, okay, let me get my dancers from my college to come and try out for you. And then Amy naturally said, well, let me reach out to the Falcons cheerleaders and see who wants to um, come and try out. Did I lose you? There you are.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
It's like always during like every interview, my internet kicks me off.
Yeah.
I don't have like the best internet here, so
Oh,
all right. So, who do you still watch the business today? And if so, who are some of your favorite wrestlers to watch?
so I don't really get to sit down and have any. There's five of us, so it's just busy. Right now, it's such a busy time for our kids. Being, 11. They play like 11, 13, and 16, and it's just been so busy. They play multiple sports, so I'm just, it's just managing the home alone is it's I don't really get to have a lot of personal time to sit and keep up with things.
Right.
Who's your favorite?
And then also now being an entrepreneur
Yeah.
and doing all that.
Who's your favorite?
My favorite is Tiffany Stratton and Liv Morgan.
Oh wow,
I'm a big
okay. Women's division.
yeah. And then for the guys, I like the New Day. Um, I also like Becky Lynch, and then there was Ricochet and Mustafa Ali, who are no longer in the WWE, but they were my favorites when they were in the
Did
WWE.
they
They
go to
still are.
did they go to the other company? One of the other companies?
Ricochet just went to AEW, and Mustafa went to TNA for a bit.
Okay. Okay. So do you
Yeah.
follow them as they move?
Um,
Or do you just kind
not
of
much.
not much? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I really just stick with watching like the WWE more. I don't really watch a lot of AEW
Hmm.
on like I don't even get to watch NXT a lot. So it's mainly just Raw and SmackDown on Mondays and Tuesdays that I watch. But when I get the chance to, I do try my best to watch like the other companies. So
Well, that's fun. Is there anything else
yeah.
you follow other than wrestling? Do you watch? Do you follow any college or NFL or MLB, anything like that?
Other than any other sports, I don't really follow much
Okay.
because I mean, I'm more of like I'm also like a fan of Monster Jam kind of. Um but I honestly don't really watch much TV unless it's like wrestling or like if it's like movies for like Halloween or Christmas, then yeah.
Yeah.
Um or like at the theater I'll watch and go watch something. But that was just much wrestling for me, you know.
Yeah. Did you so you grew up watching wrestling?
Not as like a little kid, no. My I just got into it because one day in elementary school, yes, elementary school, I was like in, I would say second grade, and my friend got me into it. He was like a big wrestling fan, and he told me to go check it out, and he showed me like these wrestling figures too that he had of them, and um, just getting to see that, I'm like, they made wrestling figures of these people that are on TV and that you get to actually do
Play it
that
out.
in real
Yeah.
life. Yes, and
Yeah. It's almost
it's
like
just
it's boys' version of Barbie dolls. Okay, I don't know if you heard me, but it's like the boys' version of Barbie dolls, right?
yeah,
Whereas like the girls take their Barbie dolls and they dress them up and
yeah,
they go shopping or they get married, and but here the boys with their wrestling figures, like wrestling each other. Yeah,
yep.
that sounds
So
right.
the girls had their Barbies, and then the boys had their
Boys had
wrestling
their wrestling
figures. So,
figures. Yeah, yeah, that's cute.
so growing up, you're from South Korea. What was it like from the move from South Korea to America, and what was it like living in South Korea as a young child?
Um, you know, I mean, in Korea, if I look back, I mean, I knowing what I know now, I look back and it was. I mean, it wasn't hard, because we had a good family unit, and we had a lot of extended family, like aunts and uncles around and cousins. So it wasn't. It's not like we were struggling that much, but my parents were definitely working very, very hard to make the ends meet. But at the time when you were a kid, that's what you know. That's just how it is. Um, we came here, so I think we applied for the visa, and you have to have a sponsor. You have to have a U.S. citizen to sponsor you. So my aunt, my dad's older sister, who was American citizen that was living up in Michigan, she sponsored our whole family. And I think when I was in first grade, and it took 4 years for the visas to get approved. So when I was in fifth grade, because in those 4 years, it's like you're waiting. You want to say, hey, we want to immigrate to the U.S. and you got to get in line,
Right.
right? And eventually happens. And they in that time, I'm sure they vetted my dad to make sure that he didn't have any criminal records, and that he was a good hardworking person with the family. So we moved over when I was 11, and it was a big culture shock. I mean, it's Korea isn't that much different from U.S., but it's just U.S. is just it's really truly is a land of opportunity. But when we came, my parents really didn't have much money, and none of us spoke English, so they worked multiple jobs, blue collar jobs. And my brothers and we worked hard carrying around our dictionaries at the time. I mean, if we would have had iPhone back then, our lives would have been much easier because it's like Google
Yeah.
Translate. But for us, we had to walk around with a dictionary about that thick. One side was um, it was translating Korean to English, and then you flip it, and it's English to Korean. So that's kind of like what we always had with us. So we learned how to speak English, and my parents worked multiple jobs, and it was an it was an amazing experience. Um, at the same time, there was a lot of work that went into it. But we knew that this was a land of opportunity, and if you just really worked hard, um, that you really honestly could achieve anything. And I feel like I'm the perfect example of that. So yeah, it was great. It I feel I feel so indebted to this country. I truly
Yeah.
think that it is land of opportunity, and then I became U.S. citizen about I think about 10, 12 years after that. And there's a lot that's required to become a U.S. citizen. There's a lot of meetings. You have to take a bunch of tests. They ask you about the
Oh
branches,
wow.
government branches, and their roles, and it's like a little social studies history test that you have to pass. And then you go through an interview process, and then they finally said, okay, we, so it's such an honor to be an American citizen. And so yeah, it's there's not a so our kids, they play football, baseball, softball. My daughter played lacrosse, basketball. I mean, they're all over the place. But before every game, whenever the anthem is played, um, and you're got your hand on your chest, staring at, looking, saluting the flag. After all these years, after so many hundreds of games that we've attended, I still get choked up looking at the flag and listening to the anthem, because
Right.
I know that my parents achieved. So, I mean, there's no way my parents could have achieved what they achieved here back in Korea, or I could have achieved what I achieved here back in Korea. So, yeah. So it's just long answer to your short question. It was, yeah, I'm just grateful to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, at a young age, when did you get into dance and cheer in like school? What was dance like for you in cheer?
So in Korea, I don't know how it is now, but there are no youth sports. If you
Oh,
have
really?
extra time, yeah. What they focus on is academics, or things like instruments, playing piano, violin. So if you have extra time, if your kid has extra time, it's just like just about every little girl is going to dance schools here. Every little girl goes into piano school, And if you have any extra time, it's all extra tutoring. focusing on academics, not sports. So I grew up, I probably didn't even touch a baseball or even basketball or anything like that, or didn't even dance, right?
Yeah.
So when we came here and I was in fifth grade, by the time I went to middle school in seventh grade, I was able to communicate well. I spoke English decent. And I learned how to play different sports during gym class. I learned how to dribble basketball, how to really, the form to shoot, volleyball, and all that. I learned. And in seventh grade, I decided to try out for the school teams. And back then, I mean, like right now, everything's so super competitive where a lot of kids they play sports year round. So by same sport. So by the time you get to middle school,
You're right.
it's really competitive. But back then, you could probably start playing basketball 2 months before the tryout, and you could actually make it. You might not play a lot of time. The kids that actually played more than you, probably gets to start the games. But so I actually made a basketball team, made the volleyball team because my thought was I watched my parents work so hard, right? And
Yep.
they took every opportunity that was given to them in this country to better themselves for the family. And I felt like it was my obligation. And I was also inspired by them to also want to not try every opportunity, not waste any opportunity. So what I
Right.
did was I thought, okay, I'm gonna try out for basketball. I'm gonna try for volleyball, and then the next one was, well, what's cheerleading? Let me try that out. So in seventh grade, I tried out for cheerleading for eighth grade, and then I made it. And I think also it's just because I was coordinated. I didn't have two left feet. I had one left foot and one right foot, right? Because a lot of people say that that
Yeah.
if somebody's not coordinated, they say that you have two left feet. But I was coordinated, so I was able to pick up sports. And I was able to pick up cheerleading. So I cheered in eighth grade. I cheered in ninth grade, and then in high school, I changed to dance team. 10th, 11th grade. Then I went to a different school in 12th grade, so I didn't dance then. But I danced also in college. So I don't have a formal background. But and then when I was living in Savannah, while visiting a friend in Atlanta, I found out that they were having a tryout for the Falcons. So I thought, let me try it. So I tried out the Falcons and I made it. So that's why I moved to Atlanta from Savannah. So I don't have a formal background in dancing. Um, it just, you know, I just have a passion for entertaining and yeah.
Right. Interesting story. Yeah. So now, if what was it like getting to be on Shark Tank, and now you're an entrepreneur? And what was it like, just to tell your story about what do you do now after all your years of dancing and all of that? Now to doing entrepreneuring, what was it like?
Well, my idea for this product came out of necessity. Being a mom and having to carry so many. It's like when you're a mom, not just to a baby, and you have like toddler and an infant, you're like a walking pharmacist because you have to have all the first aid stuff, and then you got to have you know and then you got to
Yeah.
have the toys, you got to have so like diapers, so many stuff you carry. And I just noticed that there was not a very good option, there weren't any good options for bag organizers, since I came up with the idea of the bag organizer. And I don't know anything about manufacturing, anything like that. So I went and I researched, and then I created my own sample. And I actually here, so I went to a Shark Tank edition, and you wait in line, and then what the setup that they have is everybody's there, and they have about 5 or 6 casting people, and then you go individually and you pitch your idea to these casting agents. And the
Right.
agent that I I had, she absolutely loved the idea. She said, "This is great. Um, I can see myself using it, and I can see my friends using it." And she said, how many have you sold, and how much have you made?" And I said, "Well, I really haven't sold anything. This is the sample that I made for myself that I use. So it was like I am. This is more of an idea right now, not so much a product or business yet." And she said, "Okay, so what they were looking for at the time was they wanted a product that actually had been sold. Whether it was sold, whether they sold
Right.
1,000, whether they sold 10, they wanted because mine, really, I wasn't a business yet. It was just an idea. And she wanted more of an idea. So she said, "I tell you what, once you make some of this and once you get it on the market and sell some, come back to me and then I'll get you on Shark Tank." Well, a lot happens. So again, at the time, I had little kids, and at the same time, I tried on my own how I don't know anything about manufacturing, factories, anything like that. So it's just been a long road, because like it's been like a really very, very small part time because I don't get to spend too much time on it, that I am still working on that actual the
Yeah.
end product, from my idea sample to something that's really made by professionals at a factory. I'm still trying to connect that dot. And so I still have the person's name and number. And once I'm established, I can be on it. But yeah, I didn't get that far, unfortunately. But I know it's coming. It's coming.
Right. Well, I wish the best of luck to you on that, and
Thanks,
I can
Blake.
definitely see you doing it. So,
Yeah, thank you.
of course, what did you consider to be like a weakness and then a strength of yours being part of WCW Nitro Girls?
Um, the strength and weakness. I think the strength was, I think as a whole, like strength was that I really I care for other people. I had empathy for other people's needs and struggles. And my strength is like I wanted everybody to be peaceful and happy. Um, So, and that's not just me, and that's just it goes for the other girls. They were really, I mean, even now they're my soul sisters because I don't have sisters. I have two older brothers, so they're my family. And one thing that I can say about all of it's not just my strength, but the strength as a whole, that we really care for other people.
Yeah.
Like I said, the other boys didn't get hotel rooms, but we all individually got our own rooms. So what we would do
Yeah.
is we would double up, even sometimes even like three girls into one room and on two beds, and then we would give to our room keys to the other boys who had to pay for their own. So things like that, and or even like rental cars. We got rental cars, but they didn't. So we would, yeah, that was our strength is making sure that we thought of others and we were inclusive of others. The weakness, I don't know if we have. Fortunately, even if we had weaknesses individually, as a group, we didn't have. You know what I mean? Like you're stronger by a group,
Right.
right? So even if we would have had individual weaknesses, since we were considered a group, we never really we weren't like individual wrestlers, right? That if they'd have made a mistake, it's almost like they had to be accountable for it. But since we were in a group, even if somebody made a mistake, it just somehow we had a really great support system that really helped us through it. So I can't really think of a week per se, but just yeah, no, yeah, I can't think of any week.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
What are some of the weaknesses do you get from other people? Strength and weakness. What was your favorite? What was
For
anybody give you a weakness and strength that you felt connected to? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I feel the same way.
for interviewing,
Yeah. When you interview somebody, and was there anyone that sticks out of your mind that you felt connected to because you felt like their strength and weaknesses were same as yours?
I would have to. There's been a lot of interviews, so probably off the top of my head, I would have to say probably Glenn Osborne. He was a wrestler from ECWA,
Yeah.
and he had strengths. Well, there was also actually, now thinking about it, he does his own podcast. Corey Castle. He does his own podcasts, and he wrestled, and yeah, one of his strengths definitely got me with his first podcasting. Just him saying that, I don't remember from word for word, but um, he said something like, my bad, I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously, whatever it was, it stuck with you.
Yeah, from Corey Castle, and for a strength, and then for weakness, I'm not really sure much. I know I haven't interviewed him, but definitely telling the story of Chris Van Vliet, because I got my inspiration to do interviewing from Chris Van Vliet,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I didn't get to interview him, but hearing what he had to say on like other podcasts or just on his podcast, like his weaknesses, I definitely can same on. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. The weaknesses
yeah,
only mean that it just needs a little bit more effort, right? If you
yeah,
can turn your weakness into strength with just acknowledging that it needs more attention, and then putting in the effort to
hmm,
make it.
yeah,
Yeah, because I feel like I feel like people in general, they just they don't realize the strength that they have, physical
right,
and mental strength. And as long as you can keep your head up and rise above it, I just really don't think that there should be anything um, somebody can't do and overcome.
yeah,
And overcome.
right. For like example, like I've tried like every sport out there, like not like all like the little sports, but I've tried a lot of sports like wrestling, basketball, baseball. I've tried soccer. I've tried um, almost all of like the bigger sports, and I just didn't do well in them. And trying them out is was good because you never know if you would. Oh yeah, in football I've tried, and you never know if you would do good in them until you try. So you know, I tried, and I mean, I was younger, so I don't know if that had, because for soccer, I was having ADHD. I like was spacing out, and I wasn't really in the game. I was more of just looking on in the fields and like, whatever.
But Blake, I have to. What? How old were you then?
For soccer, I was probably in like, it was way before elementary school, so it was probably like,
Yeah, you know what? It has nothing to do with ADHD. It's just you were young.
okay,
I'm
yeah,
I'm telling you right now, you know, having kids and watching, having gone through the process, it's you can't define yourself from you were just, you know, if you were 5 years old, you were just any other 5 year old. It wasn't you. It was not. It wasn't you.
okay,
It
yeah,
was just that you were fine, right? But
yeah,
again, everybody has a gift, and you know, sometimes it's through athletics, sometimes it's through academics, sometimes it's through creatives, like what you're doing. The fact that you like to do graphic design and doing this kind of stuff, being creative, and also too, there's a lot to be said about you reaching out to people and not, you know, because I'm sure you know you get a lot of no thank yous or a lot of or no responses and whatnot. But the fact that you keep going, it's no different than with sports, right? Like I mean, I watch
right,
my kids do sports, and there's a lot. There are way more failures than there are successes. You know, I mean, especially you know some, especially like to me. I mean, yes, there are a lot of great team sports and they're all great. But especially baseball, it's so like because there's one person playing at a given time. Whoever has the
yeah,
ball is the one that's playing, that's actually in the game. And and between batting and pitching and catching and errors, there's so many more failures. But does but the fact that you know they do it again or they get on the mound again or they get ready to catch the ball again or they get on the box again to bat again, you know, there's a lot that you learn from it, and that can be exactly same as you um, you know, working on your success of your podcast, reaching out to people, and then
yeah,
you don't get any response, or even you didn't, if they tell you no, you're too small or you're too young or yeah, I'm not interested. That's no different than a batter getting a strikeout, right? But what do you
yeah,
do? Does that person just not go up and bat again? No, they come back up to bat like you. Does it mean that you're not going
yeah,
to ask the next person? No, you do. So there's a lot, there's so many life lessons that's, you know, so it's not just through sports. You can get the same life lesson through other ways, like what you're doing. So what you're doing is incredible, and you need to know that. And especially at 16, and you started like COVID, that was 4 years ago. So you started when you were like 11, 12 years old. That is
yeah,
incredible. And I hope you give yourself a lot of pat on your back for what you're doing. And then, you know, and because of that, you're even thinking a career path for the future, considering majors in, you know, in college, and the fact that you're even thinking college. That's very, very admirable for somebody young like you. And I hope you know that. And if you don't know it,
thank you,
I hope you just keep telling yourself that every day. You're amazing.
appreciate it, thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here, I'm like listening to you. I'm just like, you know, it's the best thing. It's like probably the best interview I've done because everything is so, yeah, I'm just so invested in what you're doing.
Thank you,
Hmm.
it means a lot, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's sometimes like, yeah, like you mentioned, I do get no's and stuff, but that ain't gonna reflect on me. Like, that's just them, that ain't gonna reflect on me. Like, because I do go and ask others, and So, yeah,
You do get no's, but what do you do? I mean, I'm sure the first no, I'm sure there was a time when you thought, "Ooh, is this really? Should I really keep doing this? You know, this is really discouraging, right?" You felt that, but
right,
But did you give it up? No. You asked the next person, and then maybe even if the next person, maybe it was three, four more asks, and you finally got a yes. But that is like that's what you focus on, right?
right.
Yeah.
And also, some people just don't like what I do for my podcast. I've gotten hate for what I do because they don't like the way I do it. And, that ain't going to stop me either because that's just their opinion. And I mean, you know,
Here's the thing, great thing about, you know, you know what mentors are. Mentors are people who are experienced, who also are leaders who wants to help and lead others, right? And mentors are
right,
only should be used for people that who you respect for their craft, whatever it is, whether it's sports or podcasts or in academia. And really only those people opinion should matter, right? If you are not
mm-hmm,
anybody that give you the hate, if they're not the person that you would go to ask opinions for, then why would you care about what their opinion is of you? And
yeah,
unfortunately I feel like this world has just become, I really feel for the generation that's coming up like you in this world, because let me tell you, it wasn't like that when I was your age. People were much kinder, and I
yeah,
just think so many people have this, they feel like somebody else's success means it's less success for them. That's not true. It's like money. If somebody has money, that means that's money out of your pocket. No, it's not. There's plenty of money out there. You can have just as much money as them. Same goes for success, right? There are plenty audiences out there.
right,
There are billions of people out there, and there are hundreds of millions of wrestling fans out there, right? Just because one podcast is more successful doesn't mean that yours can't. And the haters were they. It's almost like they're hate on you to try to discourage you. They think that you're fighting for the same. They're taking away from that you're taking away from their success, and that's so not true. So I mean, and
yeah,
to be 16 and to recognize and to be able to deal with and have tough skin against the haters, you are way further ahead in life than most people are.
yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah. And the fact that you are younger, there's that, you know there's this, that the innocence of about you, and you're very authentic, and it's even more charming, than somebody that's older and that's professional at podcasts, and they know what to ask next, and they know how to talk well. It's not. It's it's what it's this being authentic that you put out. It's what's
yeah,
very, very, yeah, effective and charming.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, because like this one person, a couple people complained that I had like because I have my questions written down because I have a bad time remembering or just knowing what to ask my guest, and um, sometimes I think about a question and it just wanders off. So just I have to write down my questions to know what it's like, and a lot of people didn't like that about it, and
Oh
You
my
know,
gosh.
it's quite
No,
weird.
that is the pettiest thing I have ever heard.
I know.
Ask those people how many phone numbers that they know. I mean, think about it. Like I when it comes to phone numbers, I only know my husband's phone number. I don't even know my kid's number. I had to look it up. Okay. So you can't we all navigate things in a different way just because they know what questions that they ask. But here's the thing, you can't even they could have a sticky note on their laptop, right, on the screen with all the questions, so they're not obvious about looking down and reading something. They could be doing the same thing, but they're just hating on you because to me, I feel like anybody that hates on people for any reason at all, right? For any
Hmm.
reason at all, it comes from um, it just comes from sadness, anger, and insecurity in their hearts. Okay, because
Right.
what anger is a lot of sadness that's come together, and that all the sadness that gets piled on top of each other that can't be expressed, and they feel like they're nobody, they feel like they're unheard. That too much sadness becomes anger, and a lot of that anger also, what they don't know what to do with it, so they feel like they're going to feel better if somebody else feels bad. They're trying to, it's like misery loves company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you were this is like you or no. Anybody who attacks others are doing it because they're sad. Like there's perfect way to say it is hurt people hurt people. People that are in
Right.
pain want others to be in pain with them. So I don't know if you're religious, even if you don't even have to be religious. When something like that happens, just tell yourself, I'm gonna pray for him.
Yeah.
Pray for them because whatever that they're going through, that they feel so bad about it, that they feel like they have to make somebody else feel bad, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, no more haters. Just pray for
Yeah.
them.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So for another question, are you friends with Gail Kim? As you know, she's a longtime wrestler, and what is like your friendship with Gail Kim? As you two are about the same nationality, and what was
No,
it like?
we are. Yeah, she's Korean and
Yeah.
I'm Korean. Yeah. So I've known of Gail and just from the industry, but I've never met her until probably, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years ago. She was with TNA, and one of my dearest friends from the wrestling from WCW, his name is Russ Foreman, and he was, you know, he was with The Office, and he's part of promotion, so I got to know him really well, and he was with, and then he ended up he also works for he's been working for TNA, and they were in Dallas, so they wanted to know if I wanted to come down and check it out. So we went down there with the kids, with the boys, and that's when I met Gail. She was great. We didn't get to talk much because she's very busy running the show, but we did take
Right.
a picture together, and I think she posted on at the time the Twitter account. She said just to show that I'm not Chae, you know what I mean? Just I think she mentioned something about the proof that I'm not Chae, and something like that. Because I'm sure she gets it. I'm sure somebody might go up to her, especially when she first broke in. And I've been there, before she, came in. I'm sure she got a lot of reference asking her if she was me, but I didn't get
Yeah.
that just because I was gone by the time that that she was coming up. So so she put out on Twitter that here's a proof that I'm not Chae. But so that was the only time that I've we didn't really talk much, but we follow each other on Instagram and comment and like each other's stuff. But other than that, yeah, that's it. But
That's
she's
cool.
obviously she's very successful, and I love to see it.
Right. It's great to see her career just
Hmm.
evolve from what it did and now as like a legend. And I think she should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Well, definitely the TNA Hall of Fame for sure.
Oh, right.
I think she definitely deserves a Hall of Fame either in
I mean, because
WWE,
you think
TNA.
about it, that's what everybody wants, right? You want
Yeah.
to, it just in anything. I mean, like football players, you wanna play football, and then what? You get to be one of the coaches at the sidelines. Once you retire, right?
Yeah.
And for her, and I'm sure there's so many wrestlers that would be their perfect case scenario is to have a great run in the ring, and then when they retire, they are part of the creative. I mean, that would be dream life for anybody that's um, in wrestling.
Yeah. Because I know there's some wrestlers that had to retire due to like injuries or
Right.
that are working backstage for WWE at this time,
Yeah.
or that they just work back there because possibly other things. But it's cool to see that they still get to do what they love, but backstage and be in the company that they love. So,
Yeah. 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 Did you say you've interviewed other Nitro girls?
I haven't gotten to interview any of the other ones yet.
Okay.
I've tried to get a hold of them. I've been in talks with Tigress, but otherwise, I'm friends with, I think, Fire, and otherwise, I haven't had any luck with any of the other ones so far. But Tigress and Jew are have been the two that I've gotten a hold of so far. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be fun. So, Tigress and Fire, they live around North Charlotte, North Carolina area, and
Okay.
Spice Melissa is around Asheville, which is about 4 hour drive to Charlotte. So I go out to North Carolina maybe a couple times a year. So the next time we're all together, four of us, I'll let you know, and we could just jump on something like this, and you can have all four of us at once.
Okay, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Or
you. That would be cool.
anytime the girls and I were together.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Like, is
Is there
there
any night?
do you have any like a dream, anybody that you would want to interview? Like your top list? Obviously, I mean, they're the top guys, but
Yeah. There's definitely like in like the WWE, but like those are probably hard to get. I've the biggest name I've had is Mick Foley.
yeah,
Um,
wow, that's amazing. I
yeah,
mean, he was
because
great. Was he
yeah, I've
great?
only he was awesome. I had him on for a little bit, but I mean, just getting to get face to face on camera and just getting to talk with him was like a pleasure, and it was just amazing. If
Yeah,
have
yeah,
you
I
heard of
bet.
Yerpo the Clown?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who he joined with, and I was actually the first one to reunite them both since their time in the WWF together
Oh,
for an
wow.
interview. So it was just really cool getting to do that. So
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
yeah, but other than probably who I would want to really interview is probably like there's like anyone really because
Too many.
yeah, too many to name. I mean, anybody that I could get my hands on,
Hmm.
to get on my podcast would be great.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we mentioned earlier that you are the one that started and then ended the WCW Nitro Girls. So, how did that like officially? How did the WCW Nitro Girls come to like an official end? And how did you know that was going to come to an end?
Probably. So I mean, obviously, it's the last Nitro, right? In
Yeah.
Panama City in 2000, in March of 2001. Um, we knew the energy of the whole, with energy of everybody that night was, okay, am I gonna have a job? You know, is WWE gonna want us or not? And but we've always known that. I think we knew, and we weren't sure if he would bring on the Nitro Girls, but we knew fairly soon after that, probably within the next couple weeks, that I think somebody told us that Vince doesn't want to have anything to do with the Nitro Girls, and
Mm.
for whatever the reason, maybe it's because it was, people can speculate. That's just not his thing, which is fine. Or it
Yeah.
could be that since it was considered one of Eric's masterminds, that he did something that was really out of the ordinary that ended up being successful. So he doesn't want to then bring in Asan with pretty much be acknowledging that it's a good thing, and he didn't want to do that. Or he just doesn't,
Yeah.
like I said, or he just, that's not his thing. But we found out pretty soon that he didn't want to have anything to do with the Night Girls, and when we didn't hear from the office, even a month after, when we knew other girls like Tori and Stacy did, then we knew that that was it. But we were together for so long, the girls and us, that we weren't. It's almost like you're on a train that's going like 100 miles an hour, and for the past 4 or 5 years, and it comes in, all of a sudden comes to a complete stop. You're
Yeah.
not ready to get off yet. You know what I mean? You want to stay together. So, and that's why it was. And some of the girls, I have to say, they were phenomenal singers. And at the time, the Spice Girls were, I don't know, you probably don't know, but
Oh yeah.
Spice
Yeah.
Girls were very, very popular. So it was kind of a natural thing. Hey, should we try? Because we all knew how to dance. And a lot of the girls, well, everybody but me actually knew how to sing. So we thought, well, maybe we should try that. And we knew a lot of people in the music industry, being in Atlanta. So we um, reached out, and we started together some demos and things like that. And it was fun for a while. I think we tried it for maybe about a year. Um, and then we realized it just, for some reason, it just wouldn't click. And then from there, and I think we needed that. I think we needed that time to just really start exploring other things individually. It's like, okay, we tried this,
Yeah.
it's not working. And then I think one by one, people are like, you know what, I need to figure something out for myself. Because, when we realize that we really can't do anything together, stay together anymore. And then that's when everybody kind of went off and started and got their real jobs, like
Yeah.
good
Okay.
jobs,
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, we knew right away that, pretty much right away, that was going to be it. But what's great about it is we're still best of friends 20 something years later. We
Right.
we refer to each other as my girls, um, and when I, and everybody, my husband knows when I say, I'm gonna go get together with my girls. He knows, it's not,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, he knows exactly what those girls are. And we've been doing life together. Sometimes we don't see each other or talk to each other for months or sometimes years, but we know that when something happens, we drop anything to be there for that.
Right. Do your kids know a lot about your career in the wrestling and just having like a popular mom to say like just
Yeah, well, when they were younger, it was a lot easier because they really haven't. Because we had the internet lockdown. You know what I mean? They can do.
Yeah,
It's very limited access. But now that they're older, and as the saying goes, internet is forever. And once I think, I don't know if it was our daughter or our son. Maybe it was our daughter. Somehow the friends were hanging out and they decided that it was a fun idea to Google their parents, put their names in. And
yeah,
initially you didn't, if you put my first and last name in, my married last name, not that much came up. But when I was trying to launch my business, I did a lot of interviews. And when in those interviews, obviously use my married name, Marsh, last name. So when when Chae Marsh and Cheon kind of mingled, that's when when you Google it, like everything, it tied my old self to my new self together. So
yeah,
I don't know if that was a good thing or not, because now that my kids' friends or my kids, they look up my name and it brings up from all those pictures and everything from 20 something plus years ago. So they think it's neat. I don't really talk about it, or even like it's not something that I tell people at all. Uh, the baseball teams or my kids' sports teams. Like it's not something that I don't think anybody really knows. Because it was like so long
yeah.
ago. Unless you were
Right.
like a really diehard wrestling fan, like yeah, I don't think. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any times fans have recognized you out in public at like one of your kids' games or just out in public anywhere?
No, but somehow if it does come, like they don't, I guess it's kind of one of those things that you don't ever expect to see. Say you were a fan, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you don't, and you're a fan, and especially if so much time has gone by. If you're like at a baseball game and you're standing you know, next to me, like you would never. It's so out of place. You would never expect them. Now, if they were like at a wrestling, it's just funny like how your brain works, because if you're at a wrestling signing, then if you were to see me, since they're looking for people that you would recognize, from wrestling
Yeah.
industry, they may do that. But um, if you're like in an everyday situation, like your son's, pee wee football game or baseball game, you wouldn't, just because you saw like Asian, you wouldn't really put the two and two together, you know.
Yeah.
But somehow, like with this one set of parents, somehow something came up in the story, and somehow it came up about Nitro. And then the husband looked over and said, "Oh, yeah, I recognize you." It's kind of one of those. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the same because I was recently at a big wrestling show. Like I was mentioning earlier, like I went to my friend's house the other week that lives far away, and we went to like a big wrestling show in Minnesota together, and the they had like Bull Nakano, they had all the Japanese wrestlers there, Jushin Liger, Ultimo Dragon, Yuji Nagata, Sonny Ono. They had
Tony's a great friend of mine.
oh really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. They had Mickey James, Victoria, um
Wow, that was a big show.
yeah, Scott Steiner, Kelly, Mackenzie Mitchell. I mean, they had probably 20 plus names. Doink and Dink were there. Um, it was just an amazing. Mustafa Ali was even there. So, like I mentioned, one of my favorite wrestlers was there. So, Mustafa. So it was pretty cool to see him. And then I ran into Von Wagner, a former. He recently got released from NXT. And so we were just by standing by Tony Gurria, and we look over. Well, my friend looks over, and he told me this. He didn't say this out loud or anything, but he told me that he was thinking like, I recognize this guy from somewhere. And I look over and I said, "Oh my God, it's Von Wagner!" I literally like yelled, and I went up to him and met him and got a photo with him. And then his dad was there too, who was a
Oh
former
yeah,
wrestler,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wayne Bloom. So it was pretty cool getting
yeah.
to see them. They weren't even supposed to be at the show, but they're from Minnesota, so
Oh
they were there
yeah.
just
I'm sure
to
they were
be
also
there.
there to see their old friends.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
like Mustafa
yeah,
and stuff like that. So it was a
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool
That's great.
moment for me.
Yeah.
Out of all the segments you've got to do as the WCW Nitro Girls back in the day, which segment would you say has been like one of your favorites?
Um, it's probably the one. There are a couple. We try to do special routine for special events like pay per views.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that we did. I don't know which one it was, but it was in Vegas. We try to, since it's Vegas, we try to get a little glitzy, and so stuff like that. And the one that we did in Atlanta, um, that so it's nothing really truly sticks out. Um, but I do know that for certain shows, we try to add a little bit of something extra, whether it's in the costume or put a little bit more effort um, in the choreography. But I think in overall, everything we just kind of everything was as special as the one before and to come.
Right. Of course, like just getting to be part of all of them, and I mean, there's probably a lot of favorites, so you can't like also name one, and
Right, right,
also
right.
hard to remember all of the things that you did,
I mean, I
sometimes.
guess. I guess if there's one that stands out is
Okay, yeah.
it would be our very first routine. It was, I want to say, it was Nitro after the Bash at the Beach in '97. I don't know if it was July. I think um, there was a pay per view in Daytona Beach. I want to say Bash at the Beach '97. And then I want to say the next day, Monday Night Nitro was in Orlando. And that, and nobody knew who we were.
Oh,
Um, and nobody even knew there was, it's like internet wasn't back then what it is today. So there
yeah.
wasn't any kind of like, yeah, I'm sure, people have seen Kimberly around with, especially at the Bash at the Beach, we were all with Kimberly. And here's Kimberly, and there's like 5, 6 girls like following her around. If it was if it was these days, there would have been something would have gone out, right, in the social media,
Hmm.
whatever. Who's this? With pictures. I mean, at the time we didn't even have really cell phones. So I'm sure it would have gone up. Who are these girls with Kimberly? There's like 5, 6 girls, at Bath Beach with Kimberly. Who are these girls? And people would have speculated. It would have been a big, fun guessing game. But at then it wasn't. We were just with her, and I just remember going to the hotel, and there were so many people at the hotel in the lobby, as there were always whenever we're in town. And I'm sure people saw us, but they just pretty didn't know what to think of us. But the
Hmm.
opening, the Monday Night Nitro, the next day, it was what's it? Um, Boxing guy, the announcer guy. He has gray hair. He's the one that announced the Mike.
Michael Buffer.
Yes, he's the one that announced all the main event on Nitro.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he, the beginning of the show, he announced the Nitro Girls, and people were like, "What is this?" And we all run out one at a time, and then there are chairs, and it was a chair dance, and they put chairs in the ring, and we all run out, and we're kind of being introduced one by one with our name, and they're like, what is going on? Like nobody knew. It was like complete surprise. And I don't think you
Yeah.
could do anything like that now. Something would have leaked, with everybody being so connected, with through social media. Something would have leaked about a group of dance girls practicing, and then somebody might
Yeah.
even leak, because we practiced at the main event, the gym that Sting and Lex Luger owned. Somebody would have leaked the photos or something. They would have known we were coming. But back then, it was a complete surprise. Nobody knew we were coming. These like 5, 6 girls, they run out, or was it 6? We get in the ring, and then what do? And people are probably thinking they're gonna start wrestling with chair and smacking chairs at each other. Nope, we start dancing, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like the people. It's probably like people are probably like didn't know what to think. I can only imagine they were just kind of watching, going, okay, at which point in this dance is one of them gonna smack somebody down, and they're all gonna get in a huge cat fight, right? But
Right.
no,
Right. Yeah.
we just started the dance. We finished the dance like professional, dancers, and we just kind of did our little, finish move and got off stage. So yeah. So I would have to say that probably is the most memorable.
Yeah, for sure. Because
Yeah,
it's like the first show, is always a memorable
it
time.
is.
So
Yeah, and like it was everybody's surprise. They're like, "What?" They were probably like, "What was that?" It was just a little treat.
right.
Yeah, and then they used us as bumpers going in and out of commercials. So we would still come
Okay.
out. We would do more routines. They're like, okay, is it just for this show? What's going on?
You're
So
right.
yeah, that was fun.
Like a one-off thing, but nope. And then seeing you
And then
at
we
the
kept
next
coming.
show.
Yeah, we kept
Yep.
coming back. Yeah, yeah. But I
Do
do
you
know
think?
about I think around October time they launched the website nitrogirls.com, and
Okay.
And again, back then the internet was still the dial-up, and at the time, not many people. The internet wasn't what it is today. So, so when they first launched their website, I remember it was like we were out in San Diego or something. It crashed the site because so many people tried to get on it because everybody wanted to
Oh
know,
wow.
like who these girls were. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What was it like for you doing your first show? Were you nervous? What kind of feelings were you feeling for running out there for your first show in front of this huge crowd? I know you had experience as a cheerleader in front of a football crowd, but it's probably different
Yeah.
cheering in front of the crowd and now doing dancing in front of a crowd. What was like a difference that you seen and feeling?
There's really no difference. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I I don't ever get nervous. Um, I love being like now. If it was a solo, I don't like the tension by myself, just to
Oh
myself.
yeah.
I like being part of a team. Yeah, no, I wasn't nervous. We were just excited to just kind of get it done with, because there's anticipation, right? Like, what is
Yeah.
this? What is this wrestling show? What's it gonna be like? It was just a lot of excitement. And at that time, Nitro, they played it back to back. It was 8 to 10, and then 10 to 12. It was a rerun of the Nitro 8 to 10. So after we did our dance, we all went back to our hotel, and we all watched the remake, the rerun together. You know. So yeah. So we were just excited. We are just happy. I mean, none of us were ever really nervous.
Well,
More.
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
But I mean, I can. Again, it's completely different from. Because like it's for wrestlers it's different, right? They have to make
Yep.
sure that they execute everything, and they do everything well because attention is on you and another person. But with us, there's like 6 of us up there. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there ever any times you accidentally like made a mistake during your performances? I mean, there probably has been, but like any that stick out to you?
Yes. Well, there's this one. I think there's like it's actually out on the internet. Um, Minneapolis, the Nitro in
Okay.
Minneapolis.
Oh,
So we had costumes. So everybody kind of got to design their own costume, right? Same color, same material, but we can change things around. And mine was it was like a vest that you put on, like a short crop vest, and it had at
okay.
the end had long strings. And then I would tie the strings around so I would have like a lot of little X's in front of my stomach, and then I would tie it. And I think we were supposed to go out for this one break. Oh, no, I know what it was. And I have to have it really tight, but I would tighten it before we go out. But I would kind of keep it loose
Right.
if we weren't dancing. And I think they needed us last minute. We weren't supposed to go out until the next segment, but they needed us for that segment, so they just
Uh,
threw us out there. So my top wasn't on right.
mm,
So I'm dancing, and then it's it kind of. I mean, I've told this story before because people have asked, but now I'm realizing that you're only 16. But anyway, but like one of my puppies kind of popped out of my costume because my top wasn't on tight. And
yeah.
at the time, I didn't realize it, but I do remember, and even the other girls they were saying, I guess when it happened, there was a huge pop. And then even the girls were like, "Oh my gosh!" They even said, as they were dancing, "Oh my gosh, we must be looking so good. We got a huge pop." But it wasn't because of our dancing; it's because it literally popped out. But yeah, so that's probably one thing that I remember. And a lot of people, and at the time, the internet were saying that Paige made me do it. DDP made me do it. So it would help the nice girls to get over. And I'm like, yeah,
Right.
no, yeah, I would be the last person who would have volunteered to have done that. There are a couple other girls that would have done it willingly, but there's no way like I would have said no. So it was a pure accident. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I know I kind of skirted around explaining it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That must have been embarrassing
that was very embarrassing. That was very
after finding out.
yes. And then we were all in the locker room, and this lady Janie Ingle, she takes care of the office, and she's like one of the one of the production bosses. She came into our locker room and she looked at me, and I knew the other girls at the time didn't know, right?
Oh
They
yeah.
were all
Okay.
talking about what a good pop that they got. And I remember Jane and Ingo walked in because I wasn't sure. I'm like, did it? Did it not? Did it? I wasn't really sure because I just knew that it was. Anyway, I felt something and whatever. Jane and Ingo walks in. She looks at me, and then I looked at her. I said, I mouthed. I said, did it? And she said, she nodded, and I
Mm.
went, oh my gosh. And from there, yeah.
Do you think we could ever possibly see WCW Nitro Girls in the WWE for like a one-off thing, like maybe like a WrestleMania show or pre-show thing, or do you think that would ever happen?
I really, really hardly doubt it. I doubt it. You know, it really depends. Again, something like this comes down to one person, right?
Yeah.
And whoever's at the top. If they think it's a good idea, then it would happen. If they think that it's a bad idea, and um, I have a feeling that I'm sure throughout the past, especially in the beginning, I'm sure the somebody that felt that we could we would be a good addition to the show. I'm sure. I mean, I have to believe there's been a few that try to advocate for us, but it's whoever's
Hmm.
at the top probably just said, nope, that's just not my thing, and it's just I don't want to do that. I just don't think it's a good thing. Um, and then as the more years go by, I would think that the chance of that would be less. But I do have to say, I feel like the more time passes, um, I felt like right after we got done, the first handful of years we were in high demand, right? Because we were fresh.
Right. Yep.
And then there was like a period of time when we didn't really get much request for appearances. And then I feel like about starting like about when it got to like the 19-20 year mark, you know, maybe 2021, around that time, we started to get more requests. And what we realized was now we became nostalgic. Nostalgic means we were part of, it's almost like when people hear of us, think of us, they have a really good feeling. It's like friends, any kind of anything when you grew when it was part of your childhood, right? And then 20
Right.
years
Yeah.
later when you're a grown adult and anything from your childhood makes you feel good, and that's nostalgia, right? So we
Hmm.
became nostalgic. So people started wanting to see us more. So we would get requests for appearances more, and most of the time people were like, "Oh my gosh, you were part of our childhood," and I'm like,
You're
yes,
right.
you were you were part of mine. So it made people, it for a second there, it took people back to their childhood and with good memories. So who knows, maybe somebody might, but I really doubt it. I really doubt it.
Right. I mean, it'd be great to see, but I mean, nowadays in wrestling, a lot of people might not even just remember. You know.
No, no,
You know.
no. So that's why I was so surprised with you, um, being so young and even know, about the Nitro Girls. Because again, I mean, you're 16, so you weren't even born. But um, it's who knows, who knows.
Right. So all the Nitro Girls got the chance to be part of the Ready to Rumble movie. What was that experience like getting to be in the film for that? And what was like just the days like getting to be in the movie?
So much fun. So for about a month, so most of us were based out of Atlanta. So they flew us out of Atlanta and then they would fly us home. But for about a month, we all got it's like a really at this hotel downtown, and that's where they kept all of us and the other wrestlers too. Um, we all got this like a corner suite. Every one of us each got a suite, and we'd stay for a whole month. So that was that was our home for the month. So
Yeah.
for all the shows we flew out of LA, and then we were brought back to that hotel, and and the times that we were off, we did the movie. It was so much fun. Every week they would give us money for per diem for food. So
Okay. Yeah.
they, yeah. So we stayed at a hotel. They put us up. They gave us money. We got. I just remember it was like a yellow envelope with cash in it for the money for the week. And then we weren't on the film set every day. I mean, there were maybe in one week we might be on there for 2 days, sometimes one day. Sometimes there's a week that we probably wasn't on the film set at all, but that's where we stayed. So the girls, it was
Right.
again just we just lived in LA for a month, and we got paid to be there. And then being at the movie set was really boring. Like each one of us got one trailer each. on the movie
Oh
set,
wow.
wherever the location was. And
Yeah.
at the time, we didn't have internet. We didn't have iPhones. So you're just literally sitting there staring at the wall, either looking at reading a book or something, or just hanging out with your friends. Um, that's all we did. And sometimes like to film 20 for 20 minutes for something, we would be there maybe about 6 to 8 hours. And we're just waiting for our turn to go out and film. But again, you were there with your friends. And every movie set, they have what's called, gosh, I forgot the name of it. It's a craft service where it's just where all the snacks and all the food is out. So we would come
Oh
out,
yeah.
hang out over there at the craft service and eat and hang out. And we got to be in the movie. And it was a lot of fun. Then we got to go to the premiere. And it was a really great experience. And then we get money. We get a small percentage every time the movie is either bought or played or whatever. And most recent check that I got, I actually got it maybe about 3 weeks ago. It was for like
Oh wow.
$6.
Oh
So I mean, in the beginning, I mean, we would get like hundreds of dollars, right? Um,
yeah.
and then with anything, if you have a speaking role, you get paid a lot more. But for us, none of us had speaking roles, and we were just again a little garnishment, little cherry on top. We weren't the main event whatsoever. So we got bare minimum. But even so, then we would get hundreds of dollars in the beginning, and then 23 years later, or 20 years, yeah, 23 years later, I still get a check for like $6 to $7.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy to think that you're actually still getting paid for that. That's actually pretty cool.
It is cool. It's a nice reminder, in the midst of all this running the kids around, doing laundry, cleaning, you know, cooking, and then you get a check, you're like, oh yeah, I used to be somebody other than a maid and a cook, and an Uber driver.
Right. Also, part of the movie, there was a Nitro Girl that wasn't particularly part of the WCW Nitro Girls. Her name was Sasha. Do
Oh,
you know
right. Rose
anything about her?
McGowan.
Yeah.
Hmm. She was, yeah,
What
she was
was?
like the actress that played the main Nitro Girl.
Yeah, and she was never part of like the WCW. What was she like?
Oh, she was sweet. She was very nice. Um, because we had to practice dances together. So we got to know
Yeah.
her. She's very private. At the time, she was dating this guy, this rock star. Oh, gosh, I can't remember his name, but his gimmick was he had white face and like very like gothic looking. I'm trying to think who he was.
One of the Misfits.
No, no. He wasn't involved in wrestling. Trying to think.
Kiss.
No. Um, hang on. Oh yeah, it is Marilyn Manson.
Oh, okay.
Is this guy?
Yep, I know him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the time, she was dating him. Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. But so she was nice, but she was very private. You
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
When did you get into like the cheerleading type of stuff as a whole?
Um, eighth grade. Eighth grade
Okay.
is when I tried out for the wrestling. I mean, tried out for cheerleading for the first time. And at the time, I didn't know what cheerleading really was. I just knew that it looked like fun thing to do. So yeah, that's how I got my I guess my foot through the door, in which eventually I changed to dance team in high school. Then I danced in
Yeah.
college, and I have to say I'm not. I mean, I don't compare myself to dancers like Tigress and Spice. I mean, those girls are phenomenal dancers, and they dance probably from when they were, I don't know, 5, 6 years old. So
Oh yeah.
and I have to say that. So one of the reasons I think so when Kimberly was putting together the Nitro Girls, she knew immediately what she wanted as far as the look. She just
Yeah.
didn't want a group of dancing girls. She wanted everybody to be a character, like in our not that we character visually, not that we
Hmm.
were talking, not that we were acting, not that we were part of the storylines, but visually she wanted us to be a character. Just like the Spice Girls. If you probably don't know Spice Girls, but Spice Girls they had like scary Spice and they had sporty Spice, and everybody kind of had their own little look. So she knew that's kind of what she wanted to do, right? So
Hmm.
that's why with Fire, the redhead, bright redhead,
Yeah.
and AC Jazz was the blonde, and then Melissa. There was a conversation that happened with Kimberly and Melissa, where Kimberly was like, "Well, we already have a blonde with Amy, or so would you want? Can you do your hair like a little short pixie hair, like like a sporty kind of looking girl?" So that's
Okay. Yeah.
what she agreed, and obviously, I'm the Asian, and then we had a black girl, so
Hmm.
she kind of. So I have to say, I feel like there's so many opportunities I was given because like for instance, going back to when I came to the States, new culture, where I went to school, there weren't any minorities really, and I really felt on top of not knowing how to speak and being culturally different, I also didn't like the fact that I looked different. And especially too when you're 11 years old, you just want to fit in. You don't want to be different. You feel very awkward. You feel very judged. So I remember crying at night, going to bed. And I
Mm.
remember saying, God, if you knew that I was going to live in the United States, why didn't you make me look like everybody else? Why do I have to be different? I don't like being different. I don't like being stereotyped. I don't like being a minority. And which it's so sad. I wish my old self now could go to my young self then and let her know that, hey, being different is good. You know, don't.
Yeah.
It's not that you're different. You're unique, and you can
Hmm.
use that to your benefit. But I didn't really know about it until like even Falcons. Falcons, there weren't any Asian cheerleaders at all, none. And I think they really wanted to diversify, and they had, a handful of African Americans, black, girls cheerleaders,
Yeah.
but no Asians. And I just remember like the really the first thing that I went to was actually a clinic where you go and then the cheerleaders are there and they try to help you, almost kind of like getting your foot wet. And then the final tryout was going to be the following week. So when I went to the clinic and then I walked in, I just remember it was kind of odd that there were so much girls that cheerleaders that came up to me and they were so encouraging, so complimentary. Because once they saw that I could dance, you could tell that they really wanted me to make sure that I came back. They made me feel so good that I would be confident to come back to try out the next. But what I found out after is because of my uniqueness, because I was Asian, because they've never had an Asian cheerleader, and they needed to kind of to look more diverse. So
Yeah.
but and then even with Nitro, again. Kimberly wanted me because I was Asian. I'm sure there were other Asian girls that tried out, but obviously, instead of me being in competition with 50 girls in that audition, I was really only in competition with whoever the other Asian girls were because Kim knew that she wanted an Asian in the group, right? So
Yeah.
again, you have to embrace yourself, and and I'm old, and it's just so sad that when you're much older, you recognize that, you know. So I try to tell anybody that I can, especially my kids, being different, being unique is a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You don't have to fit in. Yeah, yeah, you want to fit in, you want to have friends, but at the same time, you don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be different. Do something, or even embrace things that are different about you.
Right. Yep. I agree. So, I know we mentioned this a little bit earlier about your music career, and you didn't really have like the singing abilities much than the other girls did, and that was something like unique. How did you get into? Um, how did you get the voice to actually get into the music career that you did with Diversity Five, and how did you guys come up with that name?
Um, Diversity 5 was um, D5. I mean, because again, like it's we were diverse, right? The Nitro girls. We had
Yeah.
you know, Charmel, black, Asian, and then there was a redhead, and then Vanessa was Puerto Rican. So we're very diverse, and we wanted to celebrate our diversity. And we really felt like visually, I mean, it's good to represent, good to be able to represent as much as you can of the whole country in general to into this industry. So that was an easy part, the name. Again,
Yeah.
I definitely was not a singer, and I joke. I mean, they actually did record me, but there are a lot of technology out there that fixes your pitches. When you're a little
Yep.
off, there's a way you can fix. But
Hmm.
I joke that when we would be in the recording studio recording, my mic was actually turned off. But it wasn't. But they fixed it. But I mean, I joke about that. But
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I mean, we just knew that we wanted to entertain. We loved our all the girls. Their passion was to not only dance, but the bigger passion is to entertain other people. And we're like, okay, if
Yeah.
we can't do it through dancing, what else can we do it through? We want to be in the entertainment industry. And at the time, with Spice Girls, being been popular for so long, it was a really natural progression. It was like it was a no brainer. We're like, okay, most of you guys can sing, so so let's try that. I mean, we did have some really fun. We did cut some really fun tracks, but it just kind of wasn't in our destiny. I
Okay. Yeah.
feel like I feel like what would have been, how would my life have been like had that taken off? I don't think I would be here with the same husband and then three amazing kids. I wouldn't have what I have now. So it's in a way like you can't look at, instead of looking at things that didn't happen your way, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? As in something, it's not happening for, but it's not that what's happening to me, but it's why is this happening for me, right?
Right.
It's like
Yep.
it's because something better can happen in the future, so hang on, I
Yeah.
don't know why. One second. Okay, my laptop is telling me my battery is low, which is odd because it's plugged in. Oh, I'm good.
Okay. So about WCW Nitro Girls, we were just talking about the music, and so I think Spice Girls and uh, Nitro Girls thing would have been good in WCW. Like if they brought in the Spice Girls and had like a competition
Oh
or
yeah,
something
yeah,
between
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
two, I think that would have been pretty cool to see.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that would have been neat because I mean, there,
Yeah.
the industry is so good about incorporating, um, you know, other trending people or things, at the time.
Yeah. The only thing I really know about the Spice Girls is Mel B because she was on
Yes,
America's Got
Melby.
Talent.
She was a scary
So
spice. Yeah,
she was what?
her name was Scary Spice.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I don't know what David Beckham's wife. I don't know what she was, but they had these like fun names to kind of characterize their different look and personalities.
Yeah.
Oh, Posh Spice. That was David Beckham's wife's name because I think maybe I don't know, maybe her gimmick was always she was dressed in best designer clothes. I don't know. Maybe she was posh. I don't
Yeah. I mean, we'll never know until she says herself, but
Right,
you know.
right, 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 right.
So I've heard from another podcast that you did that you and Kevin Nash had a relationship backstage. What was that relationship like between you two? If you don't mind sharing that again.
Yeah, yeah, no. So we started off as really good friends. Um, because at the time when I started, I was in a relationship, and obviously, and Kevin had a marriage, and but we really connected on a because on a more of an intellectual level. You wouldn't believe it, but Kevin is very, very smart and he's very deep and intellectual. And you could really have some deep conversations with him. And I think it probably started to happen at one of after the show on Monday night. What we do is we hang out at the hotel bar and people just kind of unwind, they drink whatever. And, we talk, we chat. And it just got to a point where I just really, we look forward to having conversations with each other. And but again, we had separate relationships. And then what happened was about the time that um, my relationship fell apart. He got separated. He and his wife
Mm.
separated, and like legally separated. So it just, I think, because we were friends before, and we just kind of we came together, and we started to to date, and it worked out great for us at the time, looking back, because that's kind of one of the other things. I mean, I didn't bring this up when we're talking about being on the road. It just mm, it worked well for both of us because we were both each other's companion on the road, right?
Right.
Right. So, you know, and at the same time, I felt so safe because driving from town to town, it wasn't just me and the girls, in the middle of nowhere. I mean, if you're driving like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, what happens if you get a flat tire, which, it didn't happen, but I just felt like I felt safe with him
Right.
because he was made sure that I was safe. Um, so yeah, we were together for a couple of years, and it was great. He was a great companion. He was protector, and at the same time, I was able to provide the companionship that he otherwise wouldn't have on the road. You know, um, so it worked out great. But towards the end, he decided to reconcile with his wife, and then we just kind of moved apart. And my life, I wanted something different, and
Yeah.
yeah, so it was a mutual thing. And again, I mean, going back, you realize, things happen for reason and season, and we were
Mm-hmm.
good for each other for that season for good reasons. But at the end, he loves the idea of a family, and I know he loved his son. I mean, his son was his world to him. And I just knew at the end that he really wanted, for him, his heart, he needed his family back, and then
Yeah.
what I really realized I needed was to have my own family,
Right.
you know, create my own family. So, but again, what you see on screen isn't who he is. He is really
Mm-hmm.
a gentle, he just yells a lot and talks loud, and when he gets mad. But at the end, he really is a gentle giant. He's got the biggest heart. I always say that tough guys have the biggest heart because they just have to be tougher to protect their big hearts, you know. But he's a great
Right.
great friend to others, like Scott Hall and other. I mean, he was just very supportive of others, and he took very good care of me. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great to see how his career also evolved into being in the Hall of Fame, not just once, but twice.
Right,
And
right, right. Not many people
with,
can say that, right?
yeah, like Booker T is one of them, and
Yeah.
then DX and a couple of them, because I think he was in with NWO and then um, by himself. I'm pretty
Wait,
sure.
what
So,
was he? What about outsiders? Were they ever? Did they?
oh, okay. Yes, I think that was it. Okay, yeah. The
Is it
Outsiders in
outsiders
NWO.
and by himself?
Well,
Because
yeah.
NWO is like there's so many people that came in and out. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the year that they got inducted was the year that they didn't do like the whole thing because of COVID. I think.
Oh.
And I know Kevin Nash was on the poster, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan,
Oh, okay,
and
okay, okay.
like the main
Yeah,
4 or 5 was part of the poster for the Hall of Fame.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. The NWO was a great run. I mean, it still is. I still see NWO T-shirts around. I may not see
Oh yeah.
WCW, but I still see NWO products.
Yeah, NWO was like running wild back in the day, like with
And Wolfpack.
yes, yes, like they had all different types of NWO things.
Yeah.
So I know Bertha Faye passed away. She was one of the WCW Nitro girls. Did you know much about her and what was she
Who?
like as Bertha Faye, Rhonda Singh?
Um, I mean, not Nitro Girls, right? Was she one of the wrestlers?
Um, I think she, yeah, she was part of the. She did do the she did do wrestling, but then she also was part of the Nitro Girls, I think.
Unless she went by a different name, I don't. You know,
It was her.
yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think she was Rhonda.
Oh, okay. Well, she was listed as one of them, so it could be a mistake on one of the lists.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
So, who out of all of the Nitro Girls did you get along with the most backstage during your time, and who did you usually hang out with and talk with?
Um, Gosh, it's kind of like this. We really got along great with everybody because I think if as you know, friends are like families by chance, but friends are by choice, right? If you don't like a friend, you
Yeah,
just stop returning calls. You just stop hanging out with them. But with us, even if we didn't initially like the person, we couldn't not hang out with them. We had to be around with them all the time. So what you have to do
yeah,
is, but so what that forces you to do is figure out, okay, really, because people talk about you need to accept people for their good and bad. But what a lot of people
right,
do is they if there's something they don't like about the person, instead of giving them a chance or accepting them, even with the bad, they just don't hang out with them. But for us, we there were different personalities trying to kind of, you know, um, trying to bond, but we couldn't get away with them. So we actually learned how to accept them, even for our differences. So we
right,
really got to. So that's like that's as good of a bond, even like it's like siblings would have. So we
yeah,
became really close, and I think at the time, but so we were together so much that when we were home, really had separate lives. But we always hung out as a group. But I have to say, through the years, I've probably stayed most consistent with Spice, Melissa, and then the
okay, yeah,
last 3 4 years, definitely with Tigress and Fire and Melissa
yeah,
because we were together. And there's Charmel too because she's in Houston. So the new
yeah,
Nitro girls that came in, I only stay in touch with Chiquita, and
okay, yeah,
even so then, I mean, barely maybe through social media, but I can't remember the last time I saw her. It had to been, gosh, more like it had to been 18 plus years since I
yeah,
saw 17, 18 years since I saw Chiquita. Yeah.
yeah. It's great to see what she's doing now. I think she does like a dancing school she runs,
She's
and
always at dance studios. Yes. She's,
yeah,
yeah, she's great.
and she's always spreading like the thing about God and stuff about that, and so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. She's very, very strong in her faith.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is it like knowing that you got to be in a couple of WCW video games?
Oh, I know. It was great. Especially the first one. I don't know what it was called, but the one that we got to be on pretty early on in our career. Um, it because they I think once it was released, we got um, royalty from it. It was a pretty decent
Okay.
amount that I actually like used the money to put a down payment on a new car. But it's fun. It's fun. But I don't that's not my world. Video game isn't my world. So it's not like I've ever
Yeah.
really stayed with it or played myself. I mean, there were a lot of, and there were like a lot of other merchandises too. We got to be on a credit card. I think it was like a handful of top guys like Hogan, Nash, and Sting, maybe. Because this is like way before. Now you can customize. You can put anything on your credit card. But back then,
Right.
it was a big deal to actually have an image on a credit card, and we were one of them. And I think we might have gotten some little change from that. So it's nice. It's fun.
Yeah, it's cool to see all the merch that you guys got
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah.
What is one of like the most memorable type of merch that you guys had, if any type of merch stands out?
I mean, we had like a lot of bunch of little T-shirts, and I mean, and then there was our swimsuit video that we did. That was, even as that was fun, but what stands out, what's more memorable than the merchandise or the swimsuit video is is actually making of it. Part of it
Yeah.
was, because like I don't, there was a long time ago that we did a cruise called Bruce Cruise. It was all the wrestler. It was not. It was a lot of the wrestlers and us, and it was a cruise for us and all the wrestling fans were on this cruise. And I think it was
Okay.
with Carnival. And so when we went to all these like islands on the cruise, that's when we took a lot of the photos and videos. And then when we came back, we actually had to fly again separately to those locations to do more, photos and videos. So out of all the merch, I would have to say that swimsuit video, not only because of the product, but more because of what went into it and the memories that I have from making of it.
Right. Yeah, it's always the memories that are the best from your times there. So
It is, it is. When you can have a great memory and great, and the end product because from the memory, it's a win-win.
yeah, and then just a great time during the time that you were doing it, and you know,
Yeah.
do you still have like most of your uh, attire that you used and wore in WCW? Because I know there's some wrestlers that like just gave it away and stuff. Are you like one of the ones that kept a lot of it?
I kept them initially, um, and then towards the end, you just kind of want to get rid of it. And some people started inquiring about purchasing it. And one of the shows that we did, I think it was a online show we did. There was this one particular promoter. He does a lot of online autograph signing, and
Okay, yeah,
yeah, and so we went on one of his shows, and I did sell a bunch of them. And the funny part is, back in 23 years, there's been we've moved. We've moved a lot, and my WCW bag with all the costume, it just gets thrown up in the attic. And as
yeah,
with the heat and everything, some costumes just started to just like fall apart. So some of the main costumes,
uh,
we, you couldn't really do anything with it. But I did actually sell some of them. Um, because you try to keep things around as a souvenir, but at the end you
yeah,
realize it's just taking up space. And what's more important is the memories you have and the friendships that I still have from the experience. So so yeah, I, you know, it's,
right,
I mean, because what you realize is, whenever you go to like your grandparents' house in their attic, and
yeah,
like my husband's mom, she tries to give me like some old stuff from my husband, like maybe his little christening outfit or his baby clothes, and I'm like, this is great, but what am I gonna do with it? And then that's when you realize, I mean, why keep these things around? When my kids are cleaning out my attic, they're probably gonna throw it away anyway. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of like the wrestlers. There's like specific few that some keep their stuff and some sell their stuff. Like yeah, like a virtual signing. I watch this person that does virtual signings with wrestlers. I watch like a couple, and the wrestlers bringing stuff to sell, and it's pretty cool to see that they sell their ring worn or
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that
yeah,
to
yeah,
sell for the fans to have and keep a memorable piece, you
yeah.
know?
I never. I mean, it is just because I'm not the type to collect things. It doesn't mean other people aren't. I mean, it's really amazing to see how many different people are into different things of collecting different things. And then if you're
Yeah.
passionate and if you really have love for something, yeah, I understand why they would want to keep their different souvenirs of it.
Yeah, like I have a big collection of wrestling stuff, autographs, uh, figurines. I have a lot of those, and
Yeah, yeah,
just when I can get my hands on like ring used stuff, I try my best, and it's pretty cool to have all that stuff. So
yeah, yeah. Because you feel like you're part of the experience,
yeah,
you know, and there's like a joy in collecting, and yeah, I
yeah,
get
for
it.
sure. Yep. So to wrap up the interview, a couple more questions here. So, what is one thing you would tell your wrestling fans, or like the fans that supported you through your years in the wrestling and now support you throughout your entrepreneuring career and stuff?
Um, a big humble thank you. Um, it's it's surreal to think that you had any kind of impact on anyone's life, but that goes to show you don't have to have a big platform. You just have to. I think it comes down to it. You have to really be mindful of how you make others feel, right? Um, what I'm thinking is, when people think fondly of me, it's because it's not what it's not what I did. It's what how how they felt.
Right.
They felt entertained. They felt they were connected to something, that's outside of them. And I think, if I could tell anybody is, I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity that I was given. And in a
Yeah.
way, and then the girls and I talk about this, in a way, we wish that, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like social media right now is literally crazy. It's really crazy. It's almost too much, right? Where every part of your life is out there for others. But at the same time, I wish that we would have had the opportunity to reach out to people more on personal in more personal way, the way that the current celebrity, not celebrities, but current, people are able to do now. Like they can be on
Right.
TV at the same time. They could literally be having conversation or going back and forth on that person's Instagram post or on their X post with other people. You are able to reach people in more personal level, and I wish we would have had that opportunity too, because what I want people to understand is like everybody matters. Um, it's just it's just making sure that you are conscious of how you're making other people feel, and what I want them to understand too is as much as they may think fondly of us, we also thank and think fondly of them, because without their support and love, our experience would not have been nearly. as what it was. So it's
Right.
thank you, like a big thank you and all around, and just much, much, much gratitude, really, gratitude and being thankful. Long way to
Of
answer
course.
your probably short question.
No
That's what
worries.
we do when
Yeah.
we talk to girls. We just use a lot of conversations. So my husband was he went to this one bathroom at a restaurant and he had to take a picture. It was a I wish I had that picture. It was a men's bathroom door and a woman's bathroom door side by side. On women's bathroom door, it had blah 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 blah. It was like covered with the word blah 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 blah, different sizes all over. And the men's bathroom door, it just said blah, just one word, you know. But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
we like to talk. Girls like to talk.
I mean, I've had a lot of guests that were guys on here that talked a lot too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so for my last question is, do you have any advice for me to become a wrestler? I know you didn't really have the background of that, but a question that I ask everybody is if they have any advice for me to become a wrestler or like a podcaster or anything.
It really is comes down to don't give up. Really,
Yeah.
what separates success from failure is is not giving up. You know, I always
Yeah.
say, um, just if you're gonna fall, fall forward, right? Don't fall backwards. There's no such thing as
Right.
failure. You know, um, and it's not failure if you restart with a lesson, right? And
Yep.
it's obvious that you have a passion for it. And the most important thing is you have to enjoy what you're doing and you have to have a passion for it. And you just keep reaching out to people. And it doesn't matter if you think they're too big or they're not, but it's so what, right? You,
Right.
you never know what kind of a day that person might be having. Some people might not be in the mood. Some people might be in the mood. Like you just never know. Just don't give up.
Hmm.
Just keep trying, and just you have to have the vision. You got to it's like you have to keep a positive, encouraging dialogue within yourself. You have to be your biggest advocate. You have to be your biggest supporter and fan. Don't worry about all the haters because haters are gonna hate. Trust me, like
Yeah.
they're gonna hate because in a way they hate themselves. So that's why they're trying to bring somebody else down. So you're doing great. Keep the passion, keep trying. And really, the most important thing is you have to have a positive dialogue in your head. Because they say that what you tell in your mind creates how you feel. How you feel creates your action. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if it's positive, so if you don't feel good about yourself, if you don't have a good dialogue in your mind, then you feel bad about yourself, and the choices you make is bad. And then guess what? That bad choice you made makes you think bad things about yourself. So it's like it's going in a circle. Either you can
Yeah.
go in a circle in a gutter, or you can go in a circle where it just propels you up with positive thoughts. And that's not just for wrestling, just in life or
Right.
podcast,
Yeah.
just in life in general. Anything that happens to you, you have to ask yourself, not why is this happening to me, but rather why is this happening for me? What can I learn out of this? And just don't ever give up. And if I were you, I would get up and I would like reach out to via social media, whatever, 100 people. Tell yourself you're gonna reach out to however many a day. You know what
Right.
I mean? Keep trying.
Yeah.
You'll do great.
I
Maybe next
appreciate it.
time
Thank you.
when you're older, you got this huge podcast success, and I'm like in my, I don't know, retirement home. I gotta wear glasses and hearing aid. No, it's gonna happen a lot sooner. You'll do great.
Yeah. I don't think you'll get to that.
Yeah, you'll do great.
Yeah, thank you.
You are doing great.
Appreciate it so much, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you for coming on here and making this interview amazing.
Oh, thank you. This was it was so nice because like there are other interviews that I have to do. The reason why I picked today is because I knew I would most likely be alone. I mean, my daughter kind of came in and out, but my husband, the
Yeah.
boys are gone, and that's like 99% of the chaos in this house. So with them gone, I knew that I could actually sit and enjoy it, and then just talking with you made it even that much better. So I really appreciate it. You made my day.
Thank
You made
you.
my weekend.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that cutout and
Oh my gosh,
for
it's
the
yeah, it is. Are you kidding? It's totally fine. People
yeah, for some
understand.
reason every time I do my interviews it always does that
Yeah.
because
I
yeah,
mean,
but
it's a lot of there's a lot of data going back and forth, So
yeah, totally. Well, if do you want to plug your social media so people can find you and everything like that?
you know, it's right now. It's just the only thing that I've like open is to public is my Instagram, and I'm not even
Yeah.
very good at even keeping up with that. You know what I mean? But anyway, but it's just my name, Chae underscore Marsh. But I guess if you just look up Chae Marsh, you'll find me. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, just it's just content, my everyday content, being a mom and other stuff. But um, yeah,
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I thank you for doing this. It was a pleasure to have you on, and I can't wait. Maybe down the road, like you mentioned, get a lot of the Nitro girls on, and you
yes,
know that'd be
no,
great.
count on it. The next time the girls are getting together, whether you record it or live or whatever, we will sit down and we will chat with you.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
I will. Yeah, you too, Blake.
Thank you so
Keep
much.
plugging away. Don't give up.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Good to talk to you, Blake.
Yep. You too.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.